Okay, we're back. We're back. I think things are good now. People said they couldn't hear the audio very well, so I'll turn it up.
Day after San Antonio, like that flight home Monday after, I finished pretty well. I was 17th with Calyrex Ice, and I saw the Tang team do really well.
Let's see what teams we got in top 4.
With Ice Rider, which no one had been doing tail room with Ice Rider.
All right, folks.
And then I just started thinking that like you can see my
decided, you know, I turned the stream on, co-stream top 4, and
I immediately thought that
finals
could be
of Vancouver VGC Regionals. So welcome. I actually played against Bazad multiple times in the Bay Area locals when I was trying to qualify for Worlds last year. So it's really cool to see him in top 4 of this tournament. How do you get into VGC if you're a rural area besides Showdown? You can play in the online tournaments like the Grand Challenges, the Global Challenges. You can play in grassroots events organized by Victory Road on Limitless. That's what I'd recommend. Alright, let me tweet about this so people know. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hello, hello. Good to have you here.
Kind of like this supportive restrictive setup trick room, use wide guard for like your other big damage dealer that had like some powerful spread move like a Groudon or Kyogre or something like that, Xerneas. But in this format, this is single restricted, and you need your guy to do damage. So I knew that if I was gonna use Lunala, it cannot just be like a kind of supportive role, and I didn't like these kind of like slow, calm mind setup like.
So we've got 4 teams left. Yeah, I was actually initially going to go to Vancouver, but then my flight was going to get in really late on Friday, and then the flight got even more delayed, and I didn't have as much time as I would have liked to prep for the event, so I ended up deciding, and I've been so busy in the last few weeks. There's been a lot of stuff I've been meaning to catch up on. Like, you guys probably have noticed, I haven't uploaded Road to Ranked in a while, and so I wanted to get caught up on content and just, like, regular life stuff, but yeah. I think this tournament's also really interesting. So there was actually a big wedding this weekend of a VGC player. And so actually a lot of the regular VGC players that you see from like the California area and the West Coast aren't at this event. And, you know, out of the big names that made it into Top Cut, a lot of them actually have been eliminated already, like James Beck, Abdullah, Joe, James, Ryan, Raghav. And so yeah, we get a brand new regional champion, which I think is really cool. Yeah, it's so awesome to, like, I attended a lot of locals last year to qualify for Worlds, and it's really cool to see, like, someone from the scene who, like, you know, has been working so hard locally pop off finally at a regionals. I will not be at Milwaukee Regionals, but I will be at Portland, and I will be at Atlanta. What up, J-Bear? Dude, job is good. Job is good. It has been fun, man. Wait, Brooks! He's also from NorCal! Wait, this is so cool. Wait, okay. Brooks, I literally, like, he would be, like, the only junior at the NorCal events, and so he would just, like, win automatically, but they would still pair him against, like, seniors and masters, right? So I actually played against Brooks at an event, like, one of the mid-season, or premier challenges, mid-season showdowns that I won, and, like, Brooks almost beat me in round 1. I was, like game 1, I was actually really, really close. That's so awesome. He'd always, his dad would always take him to the events, and they were really, really nice. Oh, that's so awesome. Let's go, Bruggs. Oh, it's so cool to see the local NorCal players pop off at this event. Oh, let's go. I'm so hyped. Yes, we can take a look at the teams. The auto caption said, shut up, James Evans, when he said shout out. I didn't get to watch the Rotom game, but I can't believe there was a Rotom in this tournament. I think this was the team. Right? It's so cool. Rotom Wash, Okie Dokie.
have you had with this team?
Not that much. I don't know. Like,
Dude, Brooks, let's go, man.
I think I've had enough and like practice.
You got 110th at Vancouver. Congratulations. Thank you for watching the content and for the kind words, and I hope you had a fun time this weekend.
Medal around your neck. And in that finals, you were playing against Cameron, and Cameron
Okay,
had
so
So
what teams do we have left? Lunala, Specs, Terapagos.
Like I played him in Swiss and I won. So I
Dude, these remaining teams rock. We have Lunala,
He also adapted well. And then
Specs, Terapagos,
in game 3,
Calyrex Ice Rider,
Rock Slide,
with like this hard Trick Room Ice Rider, and then Ursa Luna. This is kind of this is very similar to what Riley Factura was using when he was playing
Do you have another
last.
coming up?
Like, yeah, he had Iron Crown, I think, but and like some different changes like Dragon Pulse and Ghost Terra on Miraidon, but yeah, Ursa Luna on Miraidon here is a new take, which is cool.
I'll probably slightly change this team.
Dude, this is so hype. It's so cool to see like people that I would see when I was in NorCal at these local events, like here on stream, like doing so well.
You'd like to make
You love to
outside
see
of
it.
Coach James?
So yeah, my coach James Evans, of course, for the support and coaching. My family, my mom, my dad, and my brother for all their support, bringing me to these events. And shout out to like Joe Matisse who
Joe,
gave me my first team. Just
that's our TO. That's the NorCal TO.
VGC. That was really what got me into this.
Well, congratulations again, Brooks, and we're excited to see you in Atlanta.
Let's go, Brooks.
More Pokemon action.
Yeah. Let's go. Okay, so what matchups do we have in top 4? What was James Beck playing? He was using Calyrex Shadow Rider. Here, we can pull up his team. He had a really fun extreme game in top 16 featuring Mienshao against Terapagos. I thought Calyrex Shadow Rider would be one of the best calls going into this event.
Welcome back to the
I'm not from the Bay. I just went to school there for a few years, but I have left, unfortunately, since.
with our junior champion
Yeah,
of
so.
the weekend, but now we must make progress towards crowning our winner in the Masters division here. My name is Gabby Snyder. I'm joined once
All right,
again
folks,
by
let's do it. Top 4 of regionals into finals. It's going to be hype.
match of the weekend.
This was unprompted. I was just doing some work, but then I was like, you know what? I'm watching the games anyway. Might as well just turn the stream on. But I think this is a really cool top 4. Like, we have Lunala making top 4. Lunala winning a regionals would be so sick. It hasn't won a regionals this format. But Lunala's been so good in the formats that it's been legal in, right? Like, it won the World Championships. It got second at Worlds.
Followed by Bezod and Chase playing.
So we've got Lunala, Specs, Terapagos, Ice Rider, and Miraidon. So 4 completely different restricteds here,
They're playing their
which I think is awesome.
playing on their own terms, and you know, we saw just how well that did for Wolf Flick at EUIC a couple of weeks ago. Now it's time to figure out who's gonna win, and because these teams are so eclectic, it does make me wonder if we're gonna run into more just hard matchups where you sacrifice.
Thank you for watching the co-streams, folks. It's been really fun to do. I think as I figure out my future in VGC, I definitely want to incorporate more of these and kind of schedule them more in advance rather than just turning the stream randomly on. But they're really, really fun to do, so I appreciate everyone for coming out and watching. Fingers crossed for Lunala. You think it'll be amazing second restricted in the next reg? Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. It's really been underplayed, but I lost to Lunala at the World Championships. This is a much more offensive Lunala team, but I lost against Calm Mind Lunala at Worlds, and it was really hard to deal with. As a Zamazenta player, it was kind of a nightmare because you had Lunala and then Ghost Terra Instant as well, and so you had 2 things that would just basically be immune to body press, which really sucked. But that's the thing, right? Like, people aren't going to prepare for Lunala very much. In all my Worlds practice, I played against 1 set against Lunala, and that's before I decided to use Zamazenta at Worlds.
Yeah, we've seen an awful lot of Terapagos today, although mostly has struggled on stream. It has
All right, let's talk about the game. I will answer all of your guys' questions afterwards, but yes, let us cover this. So we've got Alex and Alejandro. Alejandro's made top 4 of multiple events, but he's looking to make his first finals. Same over here for Alex. And they'll put the teams up on screen here so we can just take a look at them. But I think Alejandro using hard Trick Room, of course, one of the most unique teams. And teams like this are just such a nightmare because I think people who are really experienced with hard Trick Room just know their opening line so well. And there's such a big guessing game, right? Because there's so many different combos that you're facing off from this team. In terms of leads, Indity Hatterene, right, is one. Calyrex Indity, Smeargle Calyrex, Indity Gallade, Smeargle Gallade, right? Like, there's so many different combinations that you have to cover for, which makes it really, really scary. And I think what's really cool here is Calyrex having that Imprison, which, of course, stops the opposing Trick Rooms. And I think I saw Jody Azarelli tweet that he has gone up against like 5 or 6 Ice Rider teams in a row. Actually, maybe we can check. Let's see. Alejandro's schedule. Let's take a look. I think he's basically, yeah. Imagine you're running Imprison, Calyrex, Ice Rider, and you play 1 Ice Rider, 2 different Ice Riders in top 16 and top 8, and then 4 Ice Riders in a row. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place. Isn't that crazy? Like, how much value has he gotten out of Imprison in this event, right? Like, the Imprison is mainly to stop opposing Trick Room, right? But to be able to imprison your opponent's Calyrex Ice Riders, that is so sick. And the fact, like, this is what makes this format so crazy, right? Like, he's played 6 different Ice Riders, 1 Shadow Rider, no Groudon, no Kyogre, no Koraidon, 1 Miraidon. So, it's a dream. It's an absolute dream. This must have been a really crazy matchup. Brian Collins is also like one of the premier hard Trick Room users. And so, yeah. Yeah, so he actually lost to Ian. That was his 1 loss yesterday and then beat him in top 8. So, yeah. And then I really like Specs Terapagos here. Calm Mind Terapagos, there's been one team that's been really dominating. That was kind of built by Francesco Piopero over from Italy, and that's the team that we saw a lot of top players like Marco Fierro bring to EUIC. But Specs Terapagos just does so much more damage here, and so hyper offensive here. This is actually really similar to Miraidon, right? Like to the Miraidon teams that have been dominant, Wims, Ursh, Ogre, Farigiraf, but instead of Miraidon, you have Specs Terapagos. So I think this should be really interesting to see because you're facing down obviously a ton of offense from the opposing side, right? And Trick Room. There is Farigiraf now from Alex's end, and so that's something that you can utilize to maybe threaten a little bit. But like the thing is, you have to probably respect the Imprison from the opposing side, right? So Encore Wims is interesting, but there's terrain control from Indity, which will stop Encore, and it's not Dark Ursh either. So Terapagos, of course, can be used to get rid of that Psychic Terrain, and then you can Encore with Whimsicott. And then I think the Water Terras here are all going to be like potentially really important because it allows you to resist that Glacial Lance. Yo, what's up, Grant? We have 4 players that have not won regionals in top 4. So Bazad, Alex Chan, Alejandro, and who was the 4th? We had Chase Rumka. Narrative now points out if Ice Rider's ever caught without a follow me user next to it, Stellar Hyper Beam deletes it. Yes. Yes, Hyper Beam, a move that, you know, you normally are not going to click very much on Terapagos, but when you do click it, it can get an absolute nuke on something that isn't expecting it, which is really, really cool. So let's pull up these 2 teams specifically. For Alejandro, the question is, what lead do you want to go with, right? Like, Indity Ice Rider is not bad. You probably want to bring Gallade out into this matchup because it does give you that Sacred Sword into the Terapagos. I'm mainly curious if he wants to bring Torkoal out into this matchup. Like, Torkoal on paper seems like it should be pretty good, but then when you get rid of the Sun and there's potential Light Screen here and Water Terra, it might actually be a little bit harder to execute. And then Smeargle is, I think, one of the coolest things on this team. It just creates so many mind games immediately, right? Because you have to worry about Fake Out, you have to worry about Spore. So, to me, this has been one of the most exciting regionals because, like, these are not really established comps. Or this certainly is not an established comp, and neither is this Lunala, right? Like, these are two, like, I would say, we saw a team like this pretty similar to this get top 8 at Worlds. But, like, I think even after it got top 8 at Worlds, it's like most people don't use teams like this. I think because it actually takes a lot of mastery, like, there's a lot of different things, like, you can mess up and just like lose the game immediately because you have to be so intentional about like setting up Trick Room and making sure you ideally win the game in just those couple of turns, right? Alex's team, we did see Specs Terapagos, I think, literally at the first regionals of the year. Sorry, not the year, literally the first regionals of this regulation way back in Indiana last year. So it's cool to see it make a return here. I think it just does so much damage, and yeah, I'm eager to see how this team plays out. Okay, so what would I do if I were in both players' shoes? What Pokemon would I bring and what Pokemon would I not bring? I think if you're Alex, like Ursh is actually pretty solid because it's a glacial resist. But you obviously have to worry about Indeedee. Obviously, you want Terapagos. Ogerpon, like the redirection from it is not going to be that important, but it can dish out some damage. I think Farigiraf is still interesting. Like, you can helping hand, like Terra Starstorm, for example. You do pressure with reversing Trick Room, and what you can do is, like, bait the Ice Rider into imprisoning, and on the turn it imprisons, like, you capitalize off that, right? And just go for something, like, bait out Terra, maybe, because you have Foul Play and, like, Ivy Cudgel, and then helping hand, plus Terra Starstorm, potentially, can be really powerful into Ice Rider here. Spore Smeargle, I think, is definitely a little bit spooky. It doesn't have Wide Guard, which is good, I think, for Alex here. All right, let's see. Here we go. Yep, I was just talking about this. Farigiraf and Terapagos. Nice. So, yeah, I also think, like, Frig, decent bring here, right? Because it has the safety goggles, so obviously it's going to be immune to Spore. It blocks Fake Out right now as well. But I think if Smeargle's, like, faster, yeah, you can just Spore Terapagos, exactly. I like this play a lot from Alex's, from Alejandro's end. Okay, let's see. I think Spore Trick Room makes a lot of sense, right? The risk here is you can eat up a Foul Play onto Ice Rider, and that actually do a lot of damage. Right, because, like, Alex here could just go Terra Starstorm Foul Play immediately onto Calyrex. Smeargle's even faster than Terapagos. Okay. Well, that makes it harder for Alex. But the upside is, like, you burn a turn of sleep here immediately, right? And it's actually Psychic Noise on a Smeargle rather than Foul Play into Ice Rider. So this ends up being, I think, a really solid turn for Alejandro. And it's going to be Glacial Lance instead of Trick Room. I love watching hard Trick Room players play because it's like their turn ones often, I think, give them a big advantage. So Alejandro didn't click Trick Room here because he knows Farigiraf here potentially can reverse the Trick Room. And Smeargle is also faster, right? And so you actually want to not set up the Trick Room immediately. One thing to think about when you play with a comp like this is, how do I maximize my turns of Trick Room, right? So if you set up Trick Room on turn 1, but Smeargle doesn't faint, turn 2 is actually a little bit awkward because you don't have something really strong next to the Smeargle. Now Smeargle's just content to go for Follow Me. Opportunity for Decorate, but this just covers for a 1-turn Wake on Terapagos, and it stays asleep. But, you know, Alejandro's alternative is Decorate here, but you really don't want to just lose to the 1 in 3 chance. You'd, like, Decorate and then eat up a double into this slot. Alex actually goes for Foul Play. He was probably targeting the Ice Rider, but this is actually good for him because now Smeargle's kind of in an awkward spot. It's actually slower than both of the Pokemon from the opposing side. And so, you know, Alex here actually does threaten with a lot of damage right now, right? And it's Indeedee Glade in the back. Okay. Yeah, I think you probably this is actually really interesting. Like, because you don't want to Terra here. If you Terra, Terapagos obviously hits you for super effective. But by switching in Indeedee here, you do risk Foul Play Terra Starstorm onto the Ice Rider. And I wonder if that's actually just a knockout. All right, let's see. So Indeedee hits the field. This is a little bit scary, like, if the Foul Play lands into the Ice Rider and Terapagos wakes up. Because I think both should survive Glacial. Glacial comes out here. If Alejandro... Yep, neither get a knockout. Do you wake up here? It is foul play. Does Terrapagos wake up? I think it'll KO Calyrex if it does. And it does! Ooh! Oh, but it targeted Ndidi! Oh, it's a dream for Alejandro here. Yep. Yeah, oh man. I mean, now it's so safe to Glacial lands here. One of the things to think about in this matchup, from Alejandro's end, by the way, is double Trick Rooming. So what I mean is clicking Trick Room with both of your Pokemon as your Trick Room is about to expire. You normally do this on the final turn of Trick Room or the second to final turn of Trick Room. Yeah, like, I think... basically what Alex was worried about there in that position was the Smear... Like, Ice Rider Protect, right? If Ice Rider protects, then you can just get another Spore off with Smeargle potentially. But the Terrapagos is already asleep, right? So, yeah. Yeah, might have been predicting Decorate. Yeah, Protect, Decorate, exactly. Definitely. But now, part of the problem for Alex is that he does not have Protect on his Pokemon here, and that makes beating Trick Room a lot more difficult. And I think turn 1 as well, right? We saw Psychic Noise onto Smeargle rather than Foul Play into Ice Rider. Foul Play is not even a 2-hit knockout onto Ice Rider, though, which makes it tougher. Yeah, wait, Ice Rider doesn't have Protect. Then I really don't like the... I really think you should be doubling up onto Ice Rider there. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see, like, how does Alex get out of this right now? There's still 2 turns of Trick Room, and you still got Rocky Helmet here as well. Ursh will move first before Ogerpon, likely. Yeah, I think the main question here is, do you want to follow me Glacial or follow me High Horsepower? But Glacial is just such guaranteed damage here. I think these Pokemon in the back make sense. Wims and Landorus both just get one-shot by Ice Riders, and like you probably don't want to be tarrying it. So, yeah, I think the key turn in this game was Ogerpon actually waking up and then not being able to knock out the Ice Rider. Because the Ice Rider just got to spam Glacial every turn. Flying Octopus says, I think Alex predicted Decorate on Ice Rider and then Foul Play would have one-shot, so Terra would have KO'd the Smeargle. Would Foul Play one-shot Ice Rider? It only took like 45% from the Foul Play earlier, right? But yeah, I think he was definitely predicting the Decorate for sure. Okay, now you can just go Smeargle here. I mean, basically, like, Alex definitely needs a double Protect right now. He's going to protect Urshifu. And with Calyrex Terrat here as well, and Gallade in the back, like, this just seems pretty over. So, Alejandro here, going for the Decorate. I mean, this game is not technically over if Alex gets a double Protect on Ogerpon, because then... Yeah, but he doesn't. Okay, then it's over.
Well, the Spiky Shield failing here, likely to see a double knockout, and Calyrex is going to get all 4, I think.
Yeah, we're literally going to see Calyrex Glacial one-shot everything. We're not one-shot, but yeah, KO everything. And Alejandro didn't even reveal his 4th Pokemon. Oh, okay. Ogre lives, but yeah, it's just still over. But yeah, I think that the opening turns were just way more advantage for Alejandro. It's so awkward that Smeargle is actually faster than the Terrapagos because you can always just Spore that slot safely. So he will reveal his final Pokemon here, but yeah. What makes this just so tough for Alex is, like, he didn't have enough time to stall out this Trick Room here. So, yeah, you at least get some sense of how much Ivy Cudgel does. But, okay, so the question is, how do you deal with Ice Rider Smeargle lead? Because your Smeargle is faster, right? It's really spooky. I think you can use Farigiraf. What are your other Spore answers? Fire Ogerpon? So I think Farig Fire Ogerpon with Terrapagos Ursh in the back could make sense. What would be ideal is you bait, like, Smeargle into or sorry, you bait Ice Rider into Terroring, because once you do that, then Terrapagos can obviously deal more damage, but you can make it run back with the same leads, but then the problem is you are basically always accepting that you're falling asleep on turn 1 with Terrapagos. Oh, you know what you could also do if you're Alex? You could go Ogre Pawn and Terrapagos, because then Ogre Pawn has Follow Me for Smeargle Spore. So I think those are the main options. You could also lead Ursh and just like Ursh plus Farigiraf. The Smeargle's HP stat is quite high though, so I would assume it's like max. It's gotta be fast, max HP, max speed. And then if you wanted true anti-spore, like you could go Farigiraf plus Fire Ogre Pawn. So yeah, I think Fire Ogre Pawn as a lead probably comes out here, and you either pair it with Farigiraf or Terrapagos. So that's what I would do. I think Whims and like when you lose games in a set, like you first want to ask yourself, like, did I not bring a Pokemon that I should have brought into the matchup, right? So the answers are Whimsicott and Landorus, and yeah, here we go. It's Fire Pawn Terrapagos. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yep. So you do pressure with Fake Out here, obviously, right? You could go Fake Out Fairy Terra and Trick Room. Considering the deck right here, the risk of Fake Out obviously is an immediate switch it into Farigiraf, right? So I think that makes sense. Low key, you could still Spore here and force the Follow Me, but I think the deck right here makes sense because you know you're faster than Terrapagos. This is actually really interesting, I think. Like, turn 1, I think, could be really scary for Alejandro. He's just going to go for Follow Me. Yeah, I think this is the... Follow Me Trick Room here is generally the safest option. But you now just get KO'd. But I think if you're Alejandro, you don't mind this because now you just get a free switch in. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I think this much better adjustment this time by Alex. You do, however, give Alejandro a free switch in. Follow Me does draw and Decorate. It's weird because like coaching is not the case, but Decorate it does get redirected. So yeah, Gallade makes sense here. The main thing here is Ogre Pawn is still good as a Follow Me user, right? Fire Terra. There's no Wide Guard here, which I think is really good for Alex. So, yeah, you could Sacred Sword and Glacial Lance here. If you're Alex, you could just go Follow Me, Terra, Stellar, Terrapagos, and then Terra Starstorm. Okay. So yeah, I really like the Fire Pawn adjustment here from Alex's end. Yep, just Follow Me. He's not going to commit the Terra. My question is whether or not Terra Starstorm one-shots. I wouldn't expect it to. Ogre Pawn I don't think is taking this double up. Actually, took that Glacial pretty well. This should KO, right? Yeah, okay. I think if you're Alex, you actually don't mind that because now it gives you a free switch in. If it didn't KO, then next turn Alejandro can just Sacred Sword Glacial again. And yeah, Gallade does survive that, which is big. So now the question is, does Alex, like, is Farigiraf slower than Gallade by any chance? Because if so, you could actually just go Terra Starstorm and KO the Gallade. If not, though, you can just Sacred Sword, Fairy Terra, Glacial. Yeah. Oh, okay. He's going for Imprison here because he doesn't want Farigiraf to reverse the Trick Room, which I think is really smart. With Fairy, Terra, and Imprison, the Farigiraf actually basically becomes useless. So unless miraculously the Farigiraf is slower than the Gallade, which I don't think should be the case, Gallade Sacred Sword into the Terrapagos here is always really safe. And then Alex is essentially playing down one slot because this Farigiraf, the only thing it can basically do is either foul play into Gallade or helping hand its partner. So Alex makes the correct play switching out, but you still eat up a lot of damage. This is probably Ursh, but the Sacred Sword's going to do, what, like 60%? So this is getting really spooky. Love the Imprison play here. It's actually really safe to go for. Basically, like, if you're Alejandro, you have to be careful about eating up Terra Starstorm, right? Because it's going to just do super effective damage. So you have to do your best to play around it, essentially. But if you can knock out the Ogre, not the Ogre Pawn, the Terrapagos, that's obviously huge. Oh my gosh, I was going to say 60%. That did, and it's not even, okay, it's just foul play, but it's not into Gallade. So how many turns of Trick Room are left?
Huge difference the amount of damage done there, but
I think this is over, honestly.
however, you know, this does allow for a pretty easy switch.
Because the Frograph slot now is just completely useless, right? You can Helping Hand, sure, but you're just going to get knocked out on the Ursh slot anyway. And then Inity's such a good final Pokemon to have here because you block Aqua Jet and you also have Rocky Helmet. Yeah, he tries to go for Aqua Jet. Clean play by Alejandro, man. Clean play. This is, I don't know, this is a really hard matchup. Like, I don't know what Alex could have done that much better in game 2, truthfully. Like, he just has no protects on 2 key Pokemon. 2 of the other Pokemon he has, he can't even really bring into the matchup.
Terrapagos is going to come back out in the field. You kind of have to Terrastallize here and just hope that you can survive. It is much healthier than it was in the last.
There's 1 turn of Trick Room left, right?
Have increased stats after a Terrastallize.
Yeah, you just Helping Hand Glacial.
You know, the Helping Hand Glacial is kind of the only realistic play on the other side, so it's just going to come down to how these Pokemon are trained.
I don't think Terrapagos survives this. Like, you have an attack boost and you have Helping Hand. Yeah, you do have Helping Hand, Terra Starstorm. I mean, if Terrapagos actually survives this,
Well, I mean, admittedly, with choice specs, you can afford to invest a little bit more in bulk. You know that you're going to have that special attack power already there, but a +1 Glacial Lance.
no more terrain, not really relevant here.
For this Pokemon.
Helping Hand.
On top of that, we do get the Helping Hand boost as well. So here we go. Here it comes.
Wait, did Frigg not opt for Helping Hand there? Okay, yeah, that's just a double KO. Oh man, hard Trick Room. It makes it to the finals. Alejandro on an absolute tear in this tournament. That was wow. Yeah, this might not be a long stream, folks. If Alejandro plays this. I mean, he played really well, right? Like, I think there isn't a single decision I disagree with in that set. And it comes from the Pokemon choice as well, right? Like, I really like bringing Gallade out because it just does so much damage here. Someone said, I don't want to see this on ladder. Yeah, I think these are the teams that you face on ladder and you're always like, oh my gosh. Like, I really get stressed playing these teams, especially because Smeargle is a Pokemon that can have so many different moves, right? Someone says, even if Terrapagos survives, Gallade just clicks Wide Guard. That would work normally, but this Gallade set is not actually running Wide Guard. It's Psycho Cut, Upper Hand, Sacred Sword, Trick Room. Someone was asking what the purpose of Gallade on a team like this was, and Sacred Sword is just like an unbelievably powerful attack, right? And Psycho Cut in terrain as well. And it just gives you a physical option rather than, like, Indeedee Hat is a viable lead. Indeedee Gallade is really viable. Alejandro's been happy to just go Smeargle Ice Rider, it feels like, this whole time on stream, and it's been really good. But yeah, Gallade just has a really good offensive matchup into a lot of common Pokemon in this format, and it's actually quite bulky as well, as we saw. Survived Terra Starstorm even without Psychic Seed active, and then, yeah, Sharpness is just an awesome ability. But it just, yeah, gives you another lead option. Partially because, if you think about it, Calyrex Ice Rider, for example, Indeedee, Hatterene, Smeargle, these are all actually exceptionally weak into Goldengo. Now, Goldengo is not the most common Pokemon, but Steel-type damage in general can be really scary, right? Because Calyrex Ice Rider's Terra is Fairy. You're running Fairy Terra on Ice Rider because it's really good into Miraidon. It's good for Dark Ursh as well. So it's just like a really good defensive Terra. But this means that you're exceptionally weak to, imagine like a Choice Specs Goldengo, right? With Gallade, if you're going up against Goldengo or Steel types, you can just lead Indeedee Gallade and you get the Psychic Seed, you're defensive, and you could even fire Terra as well.
Terrapagos going down easy. Critically at the Frograph, that one definitely didn't matter. And
Someone says, I never really see Smeargle on a Trick Room team. Yeah, I think Smeargle is a really interesting Pokemon. We were actually mainly seeing it with Calyrex Shadow Rider teams in the beginning of the format, but Smeargle now, we at the NAIC, let's see if we can actually pull up that team. Alex Underhill, who's a 3-time regional champion, brought, is this only the season? Yeah. He brought a Smeargle Electabuzz team, which was really cool. So are we still in 2025? Where's 24? Here we go. Someone says, what is Galade's estimated EV spread? That's a good question.
Advantage of this staying in the game and maybe taking some from a disadvantageous matchup.
Let me
Seem a
hold
lot more
on.
binary, right? Either like they have a really good matchup or a really bad one. And I think we kind of saw with Alex there, where like, well, if he could somehow survive the trick room, even a good shot. But they're just
Yes, Edu was using it on CSR. Yep, Edu, the 2022 world champion, was using it on CSR. That's correct. So let's see. Can I pull this tab in for you all?
decide how you would approach the event, right? Like, do you want to have a 100% chance or a lower percent chance to definitely lose every matchup?
How much attack do we? It's a great question, honestly. I have. You know what I actually normally check to see if you go to showdown stats, you can get a sense of EV spreads, which is really cool. My guess, yeah, like max HP, max attack is like kind of what people start with, but if you have specific defensive options that you want to have, like if you're trying to EV to survive a specific attack, then you might invest more in defense or special defense, for example. Anyway, sorry, what did I want to show up, you guys? Smear goal at NAIC, yeah. So Alex Underhill, 12th place here. He was one of the, I think, first players that I saw using Smear goal, and like this was Smear goal. This was one of my favorite teams from last year, by the way. Super cool. One of the first people to use Electabuzz prominently. Congrats, Charlie. Low key, I was like, it kind of looked like me, and I was like, whoa, it took me aback.
And are you Canadian?
No, I'm American.
He's American, cool.
But it's so pretty special to travel to Canada, huh?
So the next matchup is gonna be Bazad versus what was our last team?
I was still really happy because I got to come to the city.
Did you get to do anything fun here in Vancouver while you've been here?
Not really. We didn't really go anywhere special. I got to see my friend Issa, so I'm pretty happy.
It's great when you've got your friends. Now for this Vancouver Regional, you are playing Ice Rider Calyrex. And so talk to me a little bit about
Vancouver Masters. So the finals is gonna be Alejandro against one of Bazad or Chase.
I just came back from EYC, so I just decided to just use my EYC.
So we already have Bazad's team, Chase's team.
One adjustment in particular I wanted to make was switch from Draco Meteor to
Okay, so let's think about this matchup.
not dropping the special tag from Draco Meteor and not
Miraidon, Wims, Light Screen I feel like should be valuable. You have Dark Terror, which is actually pretty good into Side Spam too.
This weekend?
yes, I think Dragon Pulse in prep was
Wims, Incin, Miraidon. I think naturally all make a lot of sense.
not being able to miss felt really
I think Ursaluna could work, right? Like,
One of our top seniors.
the question is there much reason to bring Urshwater or Farigiraf here?
Time that you two have played against each other, were you nervous at all going up against a player like Justin?
we've played before. I wasn't
I'm gonna mute this while I think about this matchup a little bit. Yeah, so I think here for Chase, in my opinion, I would lean probably, like I'd be bringing Wims, Incin, Miraidon into this matchup for sure. And then I think the last slot you can flex. Ursaluna's interesting. Like Poison Terra actually means that you're pretty weak to Expanding Force, but you do have good Expanding Force answers with this. One of the questions is actually whether or not you want to lead Miraidon here, because if you lead Miraidon and Bazad just leads Lunala Inity, you actually lose the Terrain War. Maybe you're okay with that though, because you can just go, for example, Light Screen Volt Switch turn 1, go out into Incineroar. One thing that's really big about playing against Lunala is baiting out this Meteor Beam. If you bait out the Meteor Beam and Incineroar doesn't get hit by it, then suddenly Incin just can completely wall Lunala as well as Indeedee. One thing that we saw when Bazad played earlier on stream is utilizing Indeedee Lunala early and then just getting Lunala Landorus out next to each other, because the things that normally Expanding Force like struggles against, Landorus does a really good job of covering for, right? So Landorus with Stance Your Storm plus Expanding Force is just like a ridiculously powerful combination under Trick Room. So then one of the questions, like both players here have Tailwind and Trick Room, so obviously you could go for either speed option. I generally don't like Tailwind because here for Bazad, you've got Roaring Moon, but Roaring Moon is just so darn weak to Miraidon, right? And then like even after you set up Tailwind, where are you going from there? But maybe there's a case for it, like because if you match Tailwinds here, like Chase's team is actually a little bit slower paced, so like I don't know how the lander is trained on Bazad's end. The main thing is you have to commit a lot of resources to get that Tailwind up, right? If you're facing down like Wim's Miraidon lead specifically. The more I think about it, the more I actually think like Tailwind is low key, like potentially bringable, but it's just really weak into the Fairy duo early on. But yeah, I think I'm mainly thinking like for Chase, what do you want as your last one? I really don't love Urshifu in this matchup. But then these three are actually quite lander this week. So it's like, if you're Bazad, maybe you go like Lunala, Indy, Lando. Like this as a trio has looked really good from his earlier set on stream. You have Taunt on Ursh. I don't know if that's really relevant here. Mainly would be helpful into Frigoraph. But yeah, if I'm Chase, the way I'm approaching this matchup is set up light screen, potentially commit Dark Terra here, but try to get terrain control as well. Wim's Miraidon Incin as 3 for sure. And then if I am Bazad, I think one of the things you want to do is ideally knock out Incineroar sooner than later. If you can knock out Incineroar and then win the terrain war, those are two like very difficult tasks to be clear. But if you do that, then Expanding Force obviously can just be spammed really easily. So one of the things to pay attention to in this matchup is going to be this Meteor Beam specifically, and whether or not you're able to land it into Incineroar here. Did I see the Rotom Wash stream match? I didn't see it, but someone posted I saw that Rotom missed Will-O-Wisp. It's so sad. It's like you bring Rotom for one freaking job, it's to hit Will-O-Wisp, but it doesn't hit Will-O-Wisp. Like, man, this is a format where no one even uses Rotom. Rotom, you get one chance to shine, and you miss your dang Will-O-Wisp. Okay. You know what? Let's look at the stream. Let's look at the stream.
There's no switch.
It's so sad. It's like he has such a cool team, you know? This is crazy. Like Okidogi Rotom Wash. Okay, the miss was irrelevant. I didn't actually see the game, so let's see. Okay, Spiky. Do you guys actually, like, if we... Do you know how I got eliminated from this tournament? In 2023? Vancouver Regionals 2023. Let me show you.
Oh shit. Let's just wait in the team. So, I'm not sure if Aaron's going to feel like Corviknight, and he's going to be very careful.
Dude, this was so sad.
A speed tie assurance though, because it
Poor Aaron.
now
Wait. Yeah. But though we saw last game, but yeah, I think it's in kind of as you mentioned.
Bravebird as well, and then do you find it more important? Will-O-Wisp.
I hate this move.
Bravebird targeting.
And then I got crit. Oh.
A critical hit on top of it all. Nothing feels good about that turn for Aaron.
Oh, this is such a tough matchup.
Yeah, just don't run Will-O-Wisp if you go to Vancouver. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. This side actually felt really bad because game 1 I like made a mistake by not steel terroring my Flutter main, and then I got popped. And then game 2 I actually survived the Bravebird even without the crit, and then I actually am fast brute bonded, so I get a Spore off there as well. It's a shame. That was a shame, but oh well. Anyway. Okay, so let's actually talk about this matchup. Jokes aside, I could have played better in that set anyway. So we got yeah, so the questions are, what do you lead here, right? If you are Chase, like, I think setting up light screen early is pretty... Like, you cannot stop it if you're Bazad, right? If you're Bazad, it's interesting. Like, you obviously want to respect the Miraidon. Also, you probably have a lot of experience against Arubega Miraidon, but not, like, Incineroar, like, this other variant of Miraidon, right? So, yeah, in terms of leads, like, I think if I'm Chase, I don't hate just Whimsicott Miraidon. Because you can, even if Entity is led, you can just, like, light screen Volt Switch out immediately. And I think you can have Instant Ursaluna in the back. For Bazad, if you were worried about Whimsicott Miraidon, what do you do? Miraidon is just such a nuke button here. You could still go Entity Lunala. Low key, you know what you could do? You go Entity Lunala, and then you just Helping Hand Meteor Beam the Miraidon, because you expect it to Volt Switch into Incin. But then Chase could also actually like light screen and then Volt Switch out into Ursa Luna to eat up Meteor Beam. But I think Inity Lunala still works as a lead here. It's just like, I think Whims Miraidon is the #1 lead you have to respect from Alejandro's end. Is either side going to commit to speed control on the first turn? Chase does not need to set up Tailwind in this set, in my opinion. Unless he really wants to use it for Ursa Luna, and I definitely wouldn't be Tailwinding into like Inity Lunala. From Bazad's end, it could make sense for him to set up Trick Room, but honestly, one of the things to pay attention to in this matchup is Ursa Luna's speed stat. Like, what is it under Tailwind? What is it under Trick Room? Because I would expect it to actually outpace, like, Bazad's Lunala, for example, under Trick Room, and potentially outspeed it under Tailwind, right? Which is why I think Lunala is a pretty solid bring here. Someone suggested Incineroar, Whimsicott, and then you turn into Ursa Luna turn 1 as well. That works. I'm mainly curious. Actually, we can just pull up the damage calc, right? See.
You've got a DD that can shut up that electric terrain and deactivate the Hadron engine ability. So I think all of those
So Lunala into like Incin, Assault Vest, Meteor Beam. Oh my gosh. Okay, this Incin's actually going to take this really well. I think Incin's going to be huge in this matchup. Look at this Meteor Beam. Max against us AV Incin only does 60%. So even if you helping hand it, it's still not a KO, right? Is Roaring Moon a good or bad blind lead? It's a great question. I think in this matchup, it feels awkward because Roaring Moon is inherently so weak to Miraidon, right? Like, Miraidon can always Draco Roaring Moon safely. But there's a world in which I guess you could lead Indeedee Roaring Moon. That would allow you to redirect. But the thing is, then you're threatened by Dazzling Gleam, right? So then you might feel committed to, like, Terra there as a result. Announcers are saying to drop Lunala. Really? That's interesting. I think it's like Lunala is still bringable because it like the question is what you're dropping it for. I think if you're dropping a restricted Pokemon, you need to make sure like you have a good reason for it, right? Yeah, that would be fascinating. I don't think Lunala is that bad in this matchup, right? Patrick says, maybe I'm overreacting, but if you can't bring Lunala to this matchup, you can't bring Lunala. That's a great comment. The thing is, like, I think normally you drop a restricted Pokemon if it ends up basically not contributing anything and is actually more negative than positive in the sense that it just like sits on the field but like doesn't actually have very much damage to offer. In this matchup, I actually think it's fine to bring. Like, you still have this Meteor Beam and like Expanding Force, if you're able to win the terrain war, is still quite powerful.
Terra Dragon is something we got to see a lot kind of earlier on in Scarlet and Violet when Ogre Pawns were often kind of the biggest offensive threats in any game. It's a very useful defensive typing against
I'm really curious to see what leads. I think like Top Cut's always interesting because both of these players probably have had a little bit time to think about what leads to go with, right? And so, yeah, I generally think Whims here is just very consistent. Like, I think Whims, Incin, Whims, Miraidon are probably the two main leads from Chase's end. And so if you are Bazad, I like Whims Miraidon personally. I think it's just one of the best leads on this team. And there's a reason why this duel has won Worlds, won a Regionals, top 4 at IC as well. Lando is a must bring into Miraidon. No, yep, I agree. Yeah, Indeedee Landorus is a good suggestion. I think this makes a lot of sense. Actually, this Indeedee Lando feels really good now that I think about it. You can Volt Switch out, but then you don't have anything to take Earth Power. So I actually think this might be it. Instant Lando. It's going to be Instant Miraidon, so no Whims lead. And it's Lunala Indeedee. Okay. Here we go. So, no light screen is set up right now, so you do pressure with just helping hand Meteor Beam immediately into Incineroar. This is why I would have liked to see Whims lead, I think, because you get that guaranteed light screen here. Yeah, I mean, he's hovering the Meteor Beam. Okay. Chase could obviously Dragon Terra here, but if you Dragon Terra, now Expanding Force is so good in this late game.
Meteor Beam, it's kind of tempting.
It really is, especially
When has Lando not been a good pick, though? Well, it's specifically good as a lead option here.
you get that guaranteed damage.
And it's not, like, Lando is a Pokemon you don't always bring. Like, it's really bad into Ice Rider teams, for example. But, yeah, I think I give the advantage to Bazad here for sure.
More that players love doing than brute.
Now, Incin is going to survive this, but it still takes a ton of damage. That being said, with it being Helping Hand, you do risk just the double up to knock out Lunala here on turn 1.
Out. Volt Switch Miraidon gets to pivot out, so we will get an opportunity to see a different Pokemon that Chase has.
Yeah, I think you have to Dragon Terra there. And it's going to be Farigiraf. Okay. So is Whimsicott even in the back? It might not be. All right, does Meteor Beam hit, folks? This isn't going to KO, but Meteor Beam can miss. And one of the worst feelings in this game is seeing a move charge up like this just for it to miss. Now, that would never happen, right? Okay, the answer is no, fortunately. Yeah, it's good damage, but not enough. Great play by Chase there. He actually gets the knockout onto the Lunala. Lunala did not go for a Terra there. And I think it's like, if you want to go for that if he had actually just Terra'd, he would have been in pretty good shape. Because then you have like a +1 expanding force next turn. Lando does come out now. This is interesting, because it's like Chase now might actually want to set up Trick Room. Lando is out, right? Sandsear is going to be quite powerful. Yeah, I think not tearing turn 1 there puts Bazad... Like, there's very little downside to tearing on turn 1 with the Lunala, other than giving up a potential Terra later on in this game. And having Lunala out to pressure Expanding Force there would have been really nice. Sandsear does not miss, though. Oh my gosh! That is so much damage still. Trick Room. Oh, is it Water Terra Lunala? Yeah, okay, that's why you didn't Terra. I see. Is it fainting, though? You have Shadow Shield, and no terrain is up, so I'm pretty sure it survives the turn. And then Knockoff is super duper weak. Sandsear is really powerful, but Earth Power comes out. I mean, yeah, Lando is so good in... Hold on. I think Bazad's actually fine. You just follow me now, and then you one-shot the Miraidon, because Chase, like, set up Trick Room, so your Landers outspeeds Miraidon. Right? I think Bazad just wins now, actually. So it ends up working out. Like, Landers is actually so crazy good in this matchup. This is why I would have liked to see Light Screen and Whimsicott from Chase come out.
It is really nice to have your Ursaluna attacking first, and you do have the Earthquake for some spread damage, but unfortunately, if you do want to opt for the Earthquake, you do have to hit your own Miraidon, which you don't really want to do.
Interesting. He's considering Protect Spiky here just to burn out a turn. Stall out Trick Room 1 turn. Yeah, I mean, you could always double protect, see what Miraidon locks into, and then follow me Earth Power next turn. I think, like, Chase setting up Trick Room, and but like, Bazad having double redirection is what makes this really, really hard. Yeah, Facade, and now you get to see what Miraidon locks into, but more importantly, you're trying to stall to turn a Trick Room here. Chase set up Trick Room specifically because he wanted to use Ursaluna under Trick Room, but yeah, it's really awkward for him right now. Okay, now you just follow me Earth Power Miraidon. Just do not click Sandsear Storm. There's no reason to. Because the thing is, you still have Inity for redirection, and this is such an effective way to deal with Ursaluna, which is saying, look, you can one-shot something, but you can't one-shot my most important Pokemon, which is Landorus. So it's like, you'll gladly take this trade any day. This is why I was saying I really would want Chase to bring the Whimsicott for Light Screen. I also, that's why I thought like Whim's Miraidon lead was really safe. Essentially, Chase was forced to Terra turn 1 just to deal with Helping Hand Meteor Beam, right? And you still got a lot of damage onto Incineroar, so... The initial mode I was talking about, which was Whim's Miraidon, Instant Ursaluna, I think is what I would like to see Chase go with instead.
Yeah, exactly. The flying type on Landorus coming in really handy here because, again, that spread
But yeah, I mean, Landorus just got to put in way too much work in this game. Earth Power should be a 2-hit knockout, so you just follow me Earth Power here.
Follow me, you can guarantee the Landorus does not take any damage.
So,
And with
yeah.
Cybertron expiring in the next couple turns between an Earth Power and a Protect, you should be able to finish it off with one final.
I'm mainly thinking if, because Bazad didn't know what Chase had in the back, right? If this was a Whimsicott instead,
Trick room that Chase tried to set up.
does it really change the game? I just think like Chase needs better use of his Terra, right? Like being forced to Terra just to deal with Meteor Beam feels really bad. Like, so I want to see Whimsicott come out. I thought Whims was always coming out in this matchup. Landers was just insane in this matchup. Like if you keeping that Incineroar around is also just valuable, right? But Landers looked like broken in that matchup.
Without that Lunala, you know, we got to hear that there are scenarios where it might not be the most important.
How can Chase deal with that Lando, though? That is a really good question. He has Urshifu. So the question is, do you actually want... How do you slot Urshifu in? You could go, like, Wims, Ursh, Miraidon. Like, Fergraf didn't feel like he was doing anything in that matchup, truthfully. Other than set up Trick Room, but then Trick Room worked against Chase as well. So you could go Wims, Miraidon, Ursh, Incin, and drop Ursaluna. But Lando was insane in this one, and you know, before this game started, someone had suggested like Lando plus redirection lead, and I think that's really potent here as well. So let's see. Yeah, and people were pointing out the Meteor Beam or Lunala fainting actually was fine for Bazad, and you guys are right. It gave him the free switch into Landorus. I think this last game showed that like Landers plus redirection means Ursaluna is actually not that scary. This actually feels really hard for Chase because essentially it's like you need to knock out the redirection users before you get a shot at hitting the Landorus. Lando here is also Poison Terra. I was thinking like, you know, with Miraidon you can obviously Fairy Terra Dazzling, which is strong. That allows you to get around redirection. If Ursaluna is mid-speed, it might outspeed Lando and Tailwind, right? Yep, that's definitely. So, like, your main ways of dealing with Landers are going to be Draco, Meteor, Miraidon, Facade, Burnt from Ursaluna, or Surging Strikes from Landorus, right? The problem is all of those are single target attacks, which means that Redirection user plus Landorus means Landorus can be protected for a turn and then, like, try to get a knockout, basically, right? So... Light Screen can help you survive potentially, which I think is a big deal. Like Miraidon with Light Screen Fairy Terra under Earth Power. It's no Whims once again though. Incin Miraidon, okay. Interesting. I mean, if I'm Bazad, I'd probably go with the same play, but then if you're Chase, what is the adjustment this time? My guess is he dropped Farigiraf for Whimsicott. I think if you're Bazad, you can just go for the same play, honestly. Like, oh, okay. I think what Chase is going to do is he's going to Volt Switch, and then he's going to switch Instant out into Ursaluna. That's my guess. And he's not going to Terra Instant this time around. Maybe he's just happy to run it back again, but I just feel like that's not a very favorable trade for him if he makes the same run back. He might also try to knock out Indy here immediately. Like, you could Volt Switch knockoff. Okay, Helping Hand Meteor Beam into the Miraidon. Oh my gosh, guys. Could this be Volt Switch into Indy? Okay, never mind. I was actually gonna say, could it be Hard Switch Incin into Ursaluna and then Volt Switch, you go out into Incin, but he just stayed in with Incin. Well, still baits out the Terra. I was like, that would actually have been a really cool play for Chase to make. Like, you hard switch into Ursa to try to bait out the Meteor Beam and then get instant out on the opposing slot. And the Bazad would have actually crushed it with this, which is Helping Hand Meteor Beam. Okay. It ends up being Ursaluna. So, I mean, the problem for Chase here, and this is where I think Terroring would have helped, because then you get a really strong Expanding Force off, but I guess Bazad's still content just getting Lando in for free. This will do what, like 50%? Yeah. Knockoff comes out.
Well, Vinal is gone, and Chase just, that's a fantastic
Okay, free switching into Landor once again.
gonna get that guts boost with the Claymore at the end of the turn.
I think here, consider Fairy Terra may have been worth it, but once again, I guess he's just worried about Volt Switch. It's mainly just Bazad didn't even need to Terra in that last game, but he might want to hang on to Poison Terra on Landorus here for Dazzling Gleam.
Trend a lot by either Ursaluna or Incineroar because it is going to be the fastest thing on the field. No Trick Room set up
Okay,
yet.
now it's kind of like a mind game of do you think Ursa protects this turn?
The Sandsear Storm for its troubles.
Like, Bazad's going to protect Switch. If Chase reads this and just goes for Facade into this, it's very, very scary.
Returns to the field. You need the Indeedee.
I think Chase's position is stronger this time around because he's taken way less damage, and he has 2 Pokemon that are actually threatening a little bit more, whereas like Farigiraf previously, it just doesn't do anything.
A little later for Ogrepon.
So it's cool to see that even though we had the same leads, it's kind of a different mix-up here.
Going to be on Chase's end. If you do think that there is the possibility of
Lando protects.
you're behind,
Yeah, Chase not really reacting, so I'm guessing he didn't call it, but let's see.
other spot or try and keep the spot
Okay,
on it.
Bazad's very happy with this turn.
Making sure this Ursaluna also has that longevity. U-turn
Does end up being U-turn into Ogre. I mean, Instant has a lot more longevity around this time, right? And so that's a really big deal because with the Assault Vest and Dragon Terra, the only way of really damaging it is Earth Power from Landorus. And now there's no speed control for Bazad. So now you have Miraidon outside. Like, this is much better on Chase's end, right? And I think Bazad
Sandsear Storm. Maybe
tried to get a little fancy with that turn 1. Don't really blame him because I wonder if he was predicting like the hard switch, Volt Switch into Instant play. But now, yeah, you can follow me plus Sandsear. The problem here is you risk missing. And Miraidon might just be happy.
with a Sandsear
Do you want a Draco? Or would you still rather Volt Switch? Volt Switch into Whims would actually be a really strong play, I think.
center of attention.
He's just going to Dracos. He's content to trade here.
And Ogrepon is taken down.
Okay.
Ursaluna, you can make it past the turn. We'll have a free shot at this Landorus, but that's going to be the
Does Sandsear connect? If it misses, it's over on... Oh, it misses! Okay, hits the Ursaluna. I was going to say, if it misses Ursaluna, it's over because I think you just lose Landorus and it's a 4v1.
a rough break for Bazad.
But Sandsear is not a consistent move, so misses are not to be unexpected.
You just get knocked out by a Facade and the game pretty much ends. But now that Miraidon is on the field,
This is interesting. What is Chase's final Pokemon? Because I think Bazad's still having Landorus out here. It's actually, like, kind of good that you don't give a free switch in.
type, I do believe it is the
I think there's a decent chance Chase might have Urshifu as his 4th one instead.
terrain. Can protect it from a fake out from this Incineroar, and you make sure you get damage off on this next turn, and then you can maybe use that Landorus later on to KO this Miraidon.
Okay, he's gonna go
Ooh.
Ooh.
So it can't really Volt Switch out, reset those attacks, and if you're able to get off an attack here with Landorus,
I'm mainly thinking, do you want to Terra Poison here with Landorus? Because... Oh, he's gonna Terra Fairy. Okay.
Landorus is gonna maybe fall
So if you Terra Poison... Landorus is not grounded right now, so you actually can click Fake Out into it, even though Psychic Terrain is up.
to that Pokemon. And if Chase is trying to maybe switch Miraidon out and then put it back in, well then the Landorus can
He can Fake Out Landorus and swap Miraidon out. Yeah, so the way to get around that is Terra Landorus, Helping Hand, Sandsear.
momentum of the match and
He's
grab
going for Fairy Terra.
spent. And if you think the Miraidon
Okay.
is around, a Terra Fairy indeed makes a lot of sense. But that Miraidon is
Oh, it is Farigiraf still in the back.
I think that makes sense. You kind of need that Miraidon to KO
Chase does not have a lot of damage to offer right now with this combo.
Psychic Terrain. It is the Indeedee Terrestrializing, though, will become a Fairy type, so Landorus no longer able to Terrestrialize.
Okay.
Kind of preserving that ground typing to take on Miraidon later on, which makes sense. And Indeedee also bulking itself up again.
No Fake Out. Just goes for Follow Me.
this could also be
I mean, is this just a U-turn or a knockoff?
and the Draco Meteor is the only thing that can go for the Landorus. If this indeed
Double connects, a lot of damage.
game done. Sandsear Storm double connect.
Just Flare Blitz, okay.
Into the Indeedee, that's gonna bring it down.
That's a lot of recoil. I mean, now it's just Helping Hand Sandsear.
That Pokemon
So if Bazad just hits Sandsear, he wins, I'm pretty sure.
helmet. But now Chase, both of these Pokemon have taken a lot
You could also even Alluring Voice. I don't know if you really need the Helping Hand.
Indeedee out. Are stuck on the field.
But I think it basically... I mean, I think Bazad wins. How does Chase get out of this?
Gonna get that damage output you need with that
Oh, he's clicking Trick Room. I think that makes sense, yeah.
then you can't hit both.
Yeah, the question here is, do you actually Sandsear? Like, it might be tempting because you just win the game if you hit it. Like, you could Sandsear Trick Room.
Voice attack, which
Yeah, that's what he's thinking. I'm just wondering if there's a safer way to play this endgame. Oh, but he hits. Okay, that's it. GG. I was mainly thinking, is there a way to win this with Earth Power? Because Earth Power is a guaranteed knockout.
Every one of these Sandsear Storms land double KO.
Like, I was thinking if you Earth Power Farigiraf, you always get Trick Room up.
Now, when we look at the speed tier in this Trick Room, this
It's,
is a
yeah,
feature that once this Miraidon hits
if you Earth Power Farigiraf, what can Instant do there? Flare Blitz, knockoff? I guess it could knock off your Life Orb? I don't know if that really matters, though.
and Miraidon with this choice specs has no way to make it past these turns.
Really, really smart trick room.
Patrick says the Lunala sack was such a pro move. It's given Bazad such a good position both games so far. I'm in awe. Yeah, I think...
Even if you miss one of those targets,
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think it's like Lunala is actually pretty strong post turn 1 after instant terroring, but Landorus maybe is even stronger because there's just no answer to Sanseer here. So Lunala, wait, this is such a cool finals, guys. It's Calyrex Ice Rider Hard Trick Room against Lunala.
Here in Vancouver.
what a performance there. Just a really expert piloting of this Lunala team.
That's insane.
Against a team that can reset the terrain, take away that psychic terrain.
You turn and you have Fake Out later. Yeah, the main thing is Psychic Terrain is up still.
That he needed on his team to win that match.
But
Okay with
Landorus, yeah, Landorus looked like the true restricted Pokemon in that matchup. It was so good. Can you slot in Whimsicott here? Like, how would the game have played out if it's just Whimsicott Mirai lead, right? And you go Light Screen, Volt Switch, turn 1 into Ursaluna. That feels pretty decent for Bazad, I think. Sorry, for Chase. But I think this is a really tough matchup because he doesn't have many... Like, Landorus is so good into this comp. Landorus is so good into this comp, and then it has double redirection. I think, like, for Bazad, yeah, this felt like a really safe 4 to go with. And with Poison Terra and double redirection, Landorus is just, like, able to get so many free attacks off. And it's like, what's really threatening it, right? Like, if you wanted to nuke NDD or Ogerpon, you would need Miraidon Draco. But then you're stuck on the field with -2 Miraidon, you're forced to hard switch the next turn.
That's exactly it. Even though Lunala didn't do a whole lot of damage throughout the course of either of
If you play that way, Ursa eats a Meteor Beam and Lunala is still alive, IDK. Yeah, but then it's like no more Meteor Beam for Incineroar. You don't have to commit a Terra. Let's see how much +1 Meteor Beam does into Ursa with Light Screen. Like, I don't think it'll do much.
knowing that, essentially said, I will trade
Yeah.
Lunala for the trust.
Like, I think this is not a terrible trade, right? And then you pressure with potential Tailwind. I'm trying to think of other plans because I just don't see, like, I don't think...
I need this piece.
But I think this is just really hard, to be honest.
And I'm willing to give it up to give myself a stronger position down the line.
Fairy Terra made Miraidon useless alone. Yeah, the Terra is... Good point. On NDD means you can't Draco as easily.
Yeah, it very well might.
Would an Earth Power KO into Instant always win in the end game? I think you might be right, but let's see. The main thing you risk is what? Farigiraf reversing your Trick Room.
Right on, reactivate it longer, which means that psychic terrain can protect it.
Stuck on the field with -2 Miraidon. You underestimate -2 Miraidon's damage output. Dude, I do not underestimate Miraidon's damage output. I played 100 games against Miraidon going into Worlds. But the point is, it's like, yeah, you're... First of all, like, I definitely would not to be expecting to, like... It can maybe one-shot the Ogerpon, but even if so, like, you still have to deal with the Landorus, right? If you trade Ogerpon for the... trade Ogerpon for Miraidon, that's, like, not a favorable trade. So... Like... Basically, the main problem here is, like, Draco, yeah, maybe can get a one-shot onto NDD or Ogerpon, but that's not what you need a one-shot. What you need a one-shot is Landorus. But to Connor's question, let's see. I think you're probably right. If Trick Room gets reversed, yeah, because you still have full HP on Landorus, I think you're right. No need to Sanseer there. But I can get the temptation just because in like the head, it's just like it's just an immediate win button. Whereas like there's more like you're like, okay, then it's just 2 Pokemon eliminated. I set up Trick Room, it's like a but to your point, I think you're right. Do I think I'll be in New York City anytime this year? Yeah, I go back pretty often to see my friends and family. I honestly don't know what Chase could have done here. Like, now that I look at this matchup, having Landorus with double redirection is kind of disgusting. And the fact that Lunala was only used just for a single Meteor Beam and it still contributed enough to the battle is a testament to how good Landorus is in this matchup. Yeah, I'm just curious, like... like if light screen really changes anything. I don't feel like Farighraf contributed anything in this game. So if you bring Whimsicott, you at least get light screen up.
Two Pokemon in a bend. Storm with the you need fourth and final.
And here comes that Ursaluna.
But I think like one of Landorus's general flaws in the format is it is threatened by Pokemon that are faster than it, like in one hit KO it. And here when you have double redirection, Landorus is just so well protected.
For that Flame Word to activate and for that Guts ability.
Couple of years, and Kyogre, of course, is my favorite restricted Pokemon. It's giving me a lot.
Who's this?
Probably the world champion.
Oh, cool.
Yokohama. Or Hawaii. Those are both pretty.
Why Landorus Incarnate over Landorus Therian? They do really different things. So Landorus Incarnate is a really powerful special attacker, whereas Landorus Therian historically has been used for Intimidate and to like Earthquake. But special damage is really valuable in this format. Earth Power and Sludge Bomb can one-shot a lot of things, and they just play like very different Pokemon, honestly. Do I think Lunala will pick up in the next regulation if it's double restricted? Yeah, absolutely. In the dual restricted formats, Lunala has been absolutely insane. So I think it's like such a good supportive option with Wide Guard and Trick Room. All right, let's preview the finals. It's almost finals. We've had very quick sets here, but thank you all for joining me. It's always my like for all of you watching right now in chat, like how did you find out about the stream? Because it's like I obviously like didn't schedule it or anything, and like I've been kind of co-streaming sporadically. Like how did you know to check this channel, to click this? I'm really curious. One other thing to note about Landorus, by the way, like this Pokemon is fairly fast in this format, and that's a really big deal because there are so many Pokemon in like the base 80 to 100 speed tier range, and Landorus being able to outspeed those is a really, really big deal. Tweet, sub. That's cool. I'm glad. It's like I feel grateful that YouTube pushes it out to you guys. That's really awesome. Because I feel like live streams on YouTube, it's still kind of like nebulous to me. You always check my channel when there's a tournament. That's awesome. Well, if you are watching, also, is this your first co-stream that you tuned into? Have you watched any of the other co-streams? Like I did EUIC, Sacramento, some of the other regionals. That's really cool. What Lando do you prefer? In this format, definitely Landorus Incarnate. Landorus Therian is really not that good in this format, but historically... Actually, I really like Landorus Incarnate still. Let me see if we can look up... One of my favorite teams is... Yeah, here. I used Landorus Therian to almost win US Nats back in 2015. And Landorus was actually the last addition to my team here, which was really cool. I actually don't think I would have won this tournament, though, because I actually had a pretty bad Gardevoir matchup, and I ran into Gardevoir in top 4, and I would have had to face Rafa in finals with Gardevoir as well. But, yeah. This, like, Sly, I remember I was testing all kinds of different things, like Blaziken, and Lando was really cool. It's awesome to, like, you know, see the players here, right? Like, this top 8 was really cool because it's, like, so many of these players are still playing. Like, Toller won regionals last year. You have Alex Underhill, who won regionals last year. Wolf, who won regionals. Paul Chua. Colin Heyer. Gavin Michaels. Chuppa Cross. Jody Azraeli. James Beck. It's a fun throwback. Oh, it was actually my match against Toller. I remember this being very one-sided. Like, I felt like I couldn't really do very much. But I remember Toller making some really nice plays as well. Oh, I think I did miss like 3 rock slides, but I don't think it mattered. I think I would have lost anyway. Anyway, yeah, cool to see you all. Thank you for the answers on how you found the stream. It's like crazy to me I can turn it on and then just have you all come out and watch. So that's awesome. One more! It does it! Ah! That was such a sick finals.
I've never been to local. Well, this is my first one ever. Feels
That was one of the coolest finals ever, because I think in VGC so frequently you end up with these finals where it's like one player is so clearly favored in terms of if you look at their like history and their accomplishments, right? And Paul is the second winningest player of all time in regionals history. This was such a good finals as well. Nicholas kind of just won this set on like game 1 turn 3, which was so awesome. Do I have any stories where I don't miss moves? I wonder if you can find my U.S. Nationals games. I don't even know where you look for it, but I think the VODs are somewhere on there. That year I got eliminated, not from missing moves, but I got crit 3 times in 4 turns from Pokemon that were intimidated 2 and 3 times. Or maybe it was once and 2 times. 2013 feels like a cursed year. Like, the results were good, but they could have been even better.
Welcome back, Pokemon trainers, to the 2025 Vancouver.
What's my favorite team in Reg G? Probably Zamazenta. The team that I brought to Worlds, I really, really had fun playing. Thoughts on CIR with the Alolan Ninetales? It's cool. I would probably just use Grimmsnarl instead, because the problem with the Alolan Ninetales is you're way too dependent on Aurora Veil, and you don't really do enough after you set up Aurora Veil, in my opinion. You're also weak to like opposing weather, so like a Pelipper or Koraidon, for example. Did I watch the docu-series? I appear a decent amount. Yes, I did tune in when Wolf co-streamed it. It was cool. G asks, I know you're from Chicago. How's the regional scene there? You're thinking of trying competitive Pokemon. I actually think Chicago is one of the best local scenes for VGC. So if you are interested, I would highly recommend it. There's a lot of people that attend the locals and stuff. Narrative now says Zamazenta's going to go nuts in a format with 1 more restricted. Yeah, I totally agree. And Prison being the standard, it would be absolutely hilarious. Like, I think that would give me a good laugh. Alright, guys. Let's talk about the finals, and then I'll hang around a little bit, talk to you all. But what an awesome finals. We have Alejandro and Bazad. For both of them, their very first time making it the finals. Alejandro traveling quite a long way to get here. Bazad, a local from San Francisco. I played against him in local tournaments last season. I would see him around. He would go to a lot of locals. He was always one of the strongest players in the SF kind of Bay Area. And for him, his first top cut, and now here he is in the finals with this unique Lunala team. Lunala is not meta in this format, folks. And when people were using Lunala leading up into the World Championships, it was Calm Mind Lunala. It was leftovers, right? And the idea is, let me get my Shadow Shield active multiple times like Terapagos. But Bazad's Lunala is way more offensive. And what his team has shown is that you have so much firepower, not only from Lunala, but also from Landorus. Landorus has been a key piece for him. Now, on the opposing side, we've got Hard Trick Room, and both of these guys have played incredibly, honestly, in this event. Like, seeing them on stream, it feels like they basically know exactly what they're doing. And I'm really eager to see this matchup, because I think it's very unlikely either of these players will have practiced against their opposing teams very much, right? I think it's like, in VGC, going into a big event, you'll likely have practice against the most common teams, right? Arubega Miraidon, the team that won Worlds, for example. But here we've got Hard Trick Room and Lunala. I'm telling you, I was thinking of going to this event. I would not have practiced against either of those, right? And these players have executed them perfectly, right? When you use more unorthodox teams like this, it's very unlikely you'll know what your best leads are, and your opponent will be a little bit more confused, and so they need to take a little bit more time to figure things out. And so I think this is one of the coolest regional finals, because it's 2 players that have not made it this far before using their very own unique teams, right? And so I'm really eager to see how things play out. But let's take a look at this matchup. Alejandro's team, once again, is meant to set up Trick Room. And he's got the Imprison here. So pay attention to Imprison, because this Imprison prevents Bazad from reversing Trick Room, right? Lunala, Indeedee, these could potentially reverse Trick Room and click it. But Ice Rider here can just click the Imprison. So one thing that Alejandro's done phenomenally in this tournament is not always clicking Trick Room, not always clicking Imprison. Like, it feels like he's always making the right move with Calyrex Ice Rider. So pay attention to that, right? Can Bazad bait Calyrex Ice Rider into clicking Imprison just for it to take a lot of damage, right? And so if you look at the offensive matchup here, it's going to be Fairy Terra or on the Ice Rider, right? So what are the ways for Bazad to really take advantage of that and hit it for super effective? There aren't really too many options. Landorus is going to be your best bet. Ice Rider here in general just looks like it can do a lot of damage. You do crucially have Water Terra on Lunala, and so this allows you to, of course, resist the Glacial Lance, which can be helpful, right? Alejandro has led Smeargle and Calyrex Ice Rider so frequently in this tournament, and it feels like no one's really had a counter to it. So that's kind of one of my first questions. I think Roaring Moon here, you probably just don't bring out. It's so Ice Rider weak, so you can eliminate that immediately from the process. I think like here, Lunala, Ogre, Indeedee, Urshifu intuitively make a lot of sense. You have Sash here. You have two things that resist Expanding Force, and you have something that's bulky and can redirect. Landorus, I think, is really tricky to bring into this matchup. It could be brought because Sandseer actually does do a ton of damage. The problem is, how do you position it? In the last matchup that we saw with Bazad, Landorus was really good because you had two redirection users, and Bazad's opponent only had single target attacks, really. That's not the case here. Alejandro has Expanding Force from Hatterene, Glacial Lance from Calyrex Ice Rider, and Eruption from Torkoal. So I think it's like Landorus under Trick Room facing those attacks makes it a lot scarier. I think Taunt is going to be really interesting here on Urshifu. We actually saw Alejandro go up against Taunt. But okay, here we go. Yeah, speaking of Taunt, it's going to be Urshifu Lunala lead. And it's Smeargle Ice Rider. Alejandro's like, look, no one has proven that they can beat me with this lead combination. Okay. So you could just fake out Urshifu Fairy Terra Trick Room right now. You could also just follow me if you're worried about a switch in. Follow me Trick Room, okay? That makes sense. The question is, do you need a Terra here? Because yeah, the main reason to Terra here is if you think Ursh is faster than Lunala and it is going to get a knockout with Surging Strikes, which isn't completely crazy, right? All right, let's see. So Ice Rider going for that Terra. Alejandro loves this Smeargle Calyrex Ice Rider combination. So effective. So few people have been able to counter it in this event. This now makes it slightly weaker to Expanding Force. And it's just going to be that Taunt. Okay. This puts Smeargle in an awkward position now going into turn 2. It's going to be Expanding Force. Bazad does a good job of actually not committing that Meteor Beam, holding on to it. And Trick Room gets set up. So Smeargle now in a really awkward spot. You cannot do anything within. Here it is. It is going to be the Torkoal in the back here. But this is scary. This is a very scary turn for Alejandro. If you manage to just Meteor Beam the Torkoal as it comes out, it can get blown up completely. And Glacial Lance right now is actually not doing a ton of damage either. You could even Water Terra if you want. So for Bazad, this is what I was saying as going into this, right? Like, do you call the Imprison? You know there's Imprison from the opposing side, right? So if you don't click Trick Room here and you just get a lot of damage off, that could be huge. The question is, would you ever really click Meteor Beam into the Smeargle slot, right? Because it's like, that's such a powerful attack to commit onto something that's such low HP. So probably unlikely, but if Bazad made the call and he Meteor Beams the Torkoal, it would be crazy. Here we go. So Imprison comes out. Oh! Okay. It's just surging here. But crucially, Urshifu moves first. So I think that means Lunala here did go for Trick Room. I'm pretty sure it did. Yep. Woo! He knows there's Imprison, but Bazad's like, look, I know you have Imprison. You're not just going to click it, right? And that is a big turn for Alejandro. Torkoal gets to come out now. This is Water Terra Lunala, though. So Bazad can actually stall out Trick Room fairly effectively, right? He's going to just switch out. You can bring out Indeedee right now. Water Terra Expanding Force. So might still be okay, right? The main question is, how much does this do? I expect it to knock out Torkoal and do around 40 to 50 on Ice Rider. No Terra! Oh, wait, it is Terra. Sorry, I was like, what? Yeah, so Glacial comes out. Lunala's taking no damage! It takes no damage! Expanding Force at Lunala isn't going to win over Regionals? Torkoal down now. You can bring Smeargle out, but then you could just follow me. Like, how do you deal with Water Terra Lunala? Dazzling Gleam from Hatterene is the solution. Okay. Yeah, so Okay, yeah, he's going for expanding force, saying you can just glacial here. That should do enough to the Hatterene. Sorry, not the Hatterene, the Lunala. This Lunala also crucially doesn't have Protect, which is a big deal. And the other question is, what is Bazad's final Pokemon, right? You still have to get through the offensive Ice Rider plus the Hatterene. This has been really fun to watch, though. I wonder how different it would have played out if Lunala did not try to go for that Trick Room. So let's see. It's just going to be follow me. This is a great turn for Alejandro. I assume you knock out Lunala, but it would be a disaster if Lunala somehow survives. Nope, that's not enough. Okay. Lunala KO'd. You give up the NDD as well, but you get Urshifu back out, you get your final Pokemon back out, and then you can double protect. Glacial into the NDD. This game, by the way, highlights why you run Imprison on Calyrex Ice Rider, right? Because if Bazad just reversed the Trick Room, Alejandro gave up a lot of resources on turn 1. He's in such a bad spot. So Imprison actually so essential in this matchup here. It's just Ogerpon, so now if you're Alejandro, you can just go for Protects. Sorry, if you're Bazad, you go for Protects, you stall out Trick Room. There's one turn of Trick Room left, so Bazad has stalled this out effectively. What you can do, yeah, is there's still Smeargle here. Sun is still up as well. Ivy Cudgel, though, at this point, should just knock out everything. The question is, do you switch in Smeargle here? Yep, exactly. So Bazad, what he's probably going to do is double protect. Oh, yeah, you could have double Trick Room here as well. That is certainly a possibility. But the idea is if double protect happens here... Actually, double Trick Room then would have been the play. Oh! What? Oh, he was reading double Trick Room! But I guess it's fine because Ice Rider switched out. So it wasn't Glacial Lance. That's game. That's game. Oh, what? A clutch survival on Ogerpon there. If Ogre doesn't survive there, it's game over. Great call by Bazad here. And now Ice Rider just comes out. So normally into these Trick Room teams, you're normally going to want to protect to stall out Trick Room. But what you really have to respect, as I was talking about before on stream, is the combination of two Trick Room users, both Pokemon clicking Trick Room. So the one play Alejandro could make there that would have won was actually just go for the obvious attack, Expanding Force and Glacial Lance. But then if double protect happens, you're just stuck on the field with two Pokemon, right? I think it actually may have been okay if you double protected. Sorry, if Alejandro just attacked with both, because the thing is you still have the terrain up, right? Sorry, not the terrain. You still have the sun up, which means that Surging does less. You might be able to set up another Trick Room, but then I guess like Smeargle is your final Pokemon, which doesn't work. That was a sick game from both sides. What a fun finals. I think what's really huge here is Bazad's defense. Like, these early turns, this Lunala was able to soak up so much damage. And a huge reason for this is because Torkoal actually just doesn't contribute that much. It went for Weather Ball as well, instead of, like, Eruption. But the Water Terra on Lunala is so critical in this matchup. So, I think I love Bazad's game plan. Yeah, like I was talking about coming into this matchup, I think Roaring Moon you never really bring out into this matchup. And then so, like, and you really want to bring Landorus, and every Pokemon was really essential here, right? Indeedee to set up terrain for Expanding Force, Urshifu having Focus Sash and being able to Surging, and then Fire Ogerpon to close out the game and also survive a big Expanding Force here have. Vigilante asks, would the double Trick Room have won it? It would have... How many turns of Psychic Terrain were up? Because double Trick Room is really strong, but then you eat up way too much damage, I think, is the problem. What would have won was just Glacial Lance plus Expanding Force there. The play there is Alejandro can go for the obvious play, which is just Expanding Force Glacial Lance. He just wins the game on the spot. Bazad reads into that and says, I think you're either going to double Trick Room or I think you're going to switch into Smeargle, and if either happens, I win.
That really was what gave him the advantage. And now as we start game 2,
Yeah, I think you can just run it back with Lunala Urshifu. Torkoal didn't feel very good in the last one, so I wonder if Alejandro decides to bring something else over it. Because Gallade pressures Water Terra Lunala. So that's like my immediate thought here. Okay. He's thinking about Fake Out. Fake Out's actually a big deal, because if Fake Out had came out in game 1, it would have broken Sash on Urshifu, and that means Urshifu would have fainted from Expanding Force instead. Oh, is he just going Fake Out Trick Room, no Terra? Oh. Meteor Beam. Probably unlikely. Okay, but that's... Oh, okay. Is it Meteor Beam? Is it Meteor Beam right now into Ice Rider? Oh, it's just Expanding Force. Alejandro takes the risk. He doesn't Terra, and it works out. Maybe he's confident Calyrex survives +1 Meteor Beam. Oh. Okay. That could have been really scary. You still risk just eating up Aqua Jet Meteor Beam right now, right? Aqua Jet Water Terra Meteor Beam. Oh, it would have been so sick to see Bazad go for that. I really want to know what the damage calc is of that, because that's obviously not a very common move that you EV for. If I'm Alejandro, by the way, I would have either double Trick Room or made the same switch play like he did. I wouldn't have double attack, because double attacking is just like so obvious, but yeah, I think it's like it could really go both ways in that end game. Terra Water now. Yeah, Terra Water is so safe. Aqua Jet plus Meteor Beam here. Really safe. Oh! No Aqua Jet. Okay. Just goes for Expanding Force instead. That makes sense. The reason you don't go for Aqua Jet there if you're Bazad is because you think Smeargle might switch out, so you get to punish something switching in a lot more heavily. If Smeargle were to switch out into Torkoal, for example, Expanding Force plus Surging Strikes actually probably just gets the knockout. So Aqua Jet Meteor Beam actually would have worked out pretty well here. Oh, it doesn't have Aqua Jet. Sorry, you guys are right. Never mind. Yeah. Yeah. But ends up working out as well because Smeargle is going to be slower here, so it doesn't actually get a Spore off. Torkoal comes out now. You do just have Eruption plus, yeah, Fire Terra Eruption plus Glacial. I'm just going to go for high horsepower here. Slightly stronger. The question is there a chance Lunala survives this? Lunala's HP is still relatively healthy. And you don't have an attack boost on Ice Rider. So if Lunala survives, you can go Ursh into Indy Expanding Force. This is a big turn for Alejandro in terms of offense. You get a ton of damage on the board. Lunala cannot protect itself. And Urshifu Sash is broken. So it is going to be the switch. My guess is Indy coming out. Can Lunala survive is the question. Yeah, if not, Lunala's HP is pretty healthy here. I would expect it to live, but let's see. It is Choice Specs, Fire Terra Eruption, and a Glacial Lance. Here we go. If Lunala survives, it's a big Expanding Force off in return. Torkoal comes out. It's going to be close. Yeah, Lunala. Oh, it's single target Glacial, though. It should be okay. Yeah. Let's see. Does it live? Does it get the KO? Oh, it doesn't! Even with single target, it's not enough. Oh, so much damage from Expanding Force. Not a knockout, though. Alejandro might still be okay because you have to bring out one of Urshifu or Ogerpon. You're going to protect that slot most likely, give up Lunala. I think you just... Oh, he brings out Ogre. Okay. Yeah, the problem is Torkoal is just completely useless now, right? Like, you kind of basically have to switch it out. I guess you could stay in and click Eruption again. No, he's going to do it. Okay. Just Eruption Glacial.
regains that speed advantage, it's definitely not just useless.
Lunala switches. You could pretty easily switch and protect right now. Yeah, if you are Brazad, you're really happy Torkoal survives. Correct. Because this Ogrepon, it denies a free switch in, and now this slot is just useless. It did like 2 damage to both Pokemon, right? Glacial, does it get a crit onto either? I would expect both to survive here. It does not get a knockout. I think Bazad is so close to winning this one. He's going to knock out the Calyrex. Torkoal is essentially a dead slot now. Alejandro only has 1 Pokemon left, and Bazad can protect. We really might see Lunala do it, folks. It's going to be the Hatterene. I think Torkoal needed to switch there at least. But I'm not sure it really even makes a difference. It's all down to Hatterene. Will it be able to get enough knockouts? Right now, you can just so easily protect everything. Stall out the Trick Room. Double up onto Hatterene. Surging Cudgel. It could have been high horsepower onto Lunala instead of Glacial, right? Even though it's single target, I think high horsepower does more. Lunala so close to claiming its first regional championship in a format where it was dramatically overlooked. How incredible. Trick Room expires. You know, even if there was one more turn of Trick Room, if you're Bazad, you just probably switch your Ogrepon out into Lunala, sack it, bring out Ogre, and then Ogre Cudgel into Hatterene. But now you just double up onto Hat, and we're going to see it. Bazad is going to win this regional championship with Lunala of all Pokemon. And poor Torkoal stuck in with the Satis Eruption. Gets the knockout. We'll do the damage calc with high horsepower versus Glacial in a bit. Torkoal doesn't even get the knockout out of Urshifu. Bazad wins his first regionals, does it in style with Lunala of all Pokemon. And his team building, just perfect. Every little piece paid off, I feel like. And we got to see it really highlighted on stream. The NorCal legend representing the Bay Area comes out, wins his first regionals using Lunala. And sorry, I think I was mispronouncing his name. Bazad, not Bazad. Bazad. Congratulations, Bazad. He played so awesomely. That was so cool. I love that he made Lunala work. I really love it. How cool is that? Lunala did it. I can't wait to hear his interview, but yeah, let's pull up the damage calc. So let's see. Ice Rider. Lunala. Water Terra. Single target. Yeah, it's such a marginal difference here. But I actually don't think it would have changed the outcome. I guess, I don't know, like, the biggest delta is what, 4.9%? Was that enough, even? It survived with, it was more than 5%, I think. That's crazy, that this Lunala survives. If this turn were, this was actually a big turn. Because, he went for Glacial here. So if this were a high horsepower, because that was a single target, or sorry, a spread Glacial, like, it's a much bigger difference, right? 6 to 10%. So double, but it obviously makes sense to go for Glacial there because you just want guaranteed damage. But yeah, if this were a high horsepower into Lunala, then Torkoal comes out, and then you can fire Terra high horsepower again. The question is whether or not you knock out Urshifu then without the Glacial, right? Yeah, like, let's see how low Lunala was in the end. I mean, if he absolutely low rolled Glacial lands and then high rolls, and this is also, oh, this is Helping Hand and Shadow Shield, sorry. I guess those kind of neutralize each other out. It's a slightly bigger differential, actually. Like, you see Glacial, I don't know if it's max attack or not, But basically, like, Glacial minimum does 29.9 and high horsepower maximum does 37.7. So if he low rolled Glacial and high rolls high horsepower, like, that could be the difference there. Yeah, this was just such, like, the key moment. Am I going to try Lunala? I mean, if Bezad posts the team, I absolutely will. It's so cool. I love it because I think, like, the teams that have won the majors in this format now, it's, like, the last 2 tournaments have been Koraidon, Perish, and Lunala. And not your classic setup Lunala either. Yeah, it's a lot of what-ifs, right? The thing is, high horsepower is objectively stronger. Obviously, it has the slight chance to miss. So, it's a tough call. Like, I'd probably clicked Eruption and Glacial in that same position as well. And game 1 was so close. Like, this endgame, you could miss high horsepower and lose on the spot, but, like, if you're not going to KO with... It's mainly a question of just, like, the damage calc, right? Like, for me, I think I'm clicking high horsepower if I'm not confident on Eruption and Glacial KOing. Or, yeah, if you think, like, it kind of just comes down to the decision there, right? Because if I'm like, okay, I'm not even confident in this KOing, I'd rather go for the increase in damage. Because it's like, if you're not knocking out there anyway, you're not going to win anyway, right? So I'd rather take that 5% chance to miss than not. But I think one of the hardest things here is I wouldn't know these damage calcs. You're playing against Lunala, right? And, like... Well, you know what? I will say in regionals, basically, because you get to see people play, like, you actually get to scout out for Lunala's HP stat minimum. So this is stuff, like, because when you're playing in regionals, like, you get to see the other players play as well, right? So, like, you get to actually confirm Lunala's HP stat, which is actually a pretty big deal. So we see that it's 227, right? The problem is you obviously don't know its special defense or its defense stats, but... It's not the bulkiest of Lunala. It's like 116 here. But yeah, obviously could have more defense and special defense investment. The odds he got the highest roll with high horsepower and the lowest roll with Glacial are probably lower than missing high horsepower, right? Sorry, you're saying the odds of getting both of them? Because, I mean, the damage rolls are 1 in 16, right? So the odds of an individual roll, getting an individual roll is 1 in 16 versus the odds of missing high horsepower, which is what? 1 in... What's high horsepower? Is high horsepower 90? It's 95, right? Yeah. Do I think Zama can win another regionals? I was thinking of going to this regionals and I would have played Zama. I'm not very bullish on it right now. This is singles. Yeah, high horsepower 95%, so 1 in 20. Yeah.
What a great weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be curious, you know, if Alejandro shows up next year, we kind of saw those accomplishments, you know, just repeated success at the same event.
But yeah, I think point is, I mean, it's a really tough call, right? But I think high horsepower's accuracy is like still high enough that I would be clicking it to maximize my damage over Glacial. Because I don't know exactly how much I'm going to do, so I want the move that gives me the most power. But calc is in singles, so bigger difference. Well, the calc is in singles because it was a single target Glacial Lance that turn, right? That's why I'm calcing for it being singles. Like, Eruption here presumably is always just going to knock out anything, so you always get a single target Glacial Lance. So then the question is the different damage difference between single target Glacial versus high horsepower. Zama can win anything if MDB is using it. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the best pilot of Zama. But I think it's in a tough place in the meta right now. Yeah, and it feels like it hasn't really... Well, there's been some new innovation to Zama with, like, Koraidon. Sorry, not Koraidon. With, what am I trying to say? New innovation with, like, Dondozo, Tinglu, Chiampao, Bolt, for example. But anyway, I think like Alejandro played an incredible tournament, and this was a really close finals. Like, the end of game 1 here, Alejandro tries to call Bazad out on the obvious double protect, and Bazad very cleverly does not go for the obvious double protect. 2 2 horsepower just to lose the Ivy Cudgel, though, in your opinion? Someone points out. Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's like the Trick Room was stalled out fairly effectively, and then so late game Ogerpon also just looks really strong. Like, I think Bazad here just has like enough defense for Alejandro's team, right? Which is a really big deal. But because with this team, you normally want to like get enough knockouts while you have your Trick Room up, but Bazad was actually able to weather the storm thanks to Sash Urshifu and it having Protect, Ogerpon being bulky enough to survive Expanding Force, NDD. Like, these 4 just so strong defensively here. Ting Lu has been the best Zama partner since day 1. I mean, you would think so, but there were not many Ting Lu Zamas at the World Championships. Like, it's not a very common duo. Is there a world where that Expanding Force KO'd Ogerpon? Let's see. We can calc it, right? We know at least its HP stat. Oh, yeah, we should calc Lunala into Ice Rider. +1 Meteor Beam. And Ice Rider was max HP. So he must have been confident. Like, I think you only don't Terra there if you don't think you're going to get knocked out, which means he's max HP and at least 84 Spadef. So this would be my guess. At minimum. Because Ice Riders normally want enough to like potentially survive Miraidon. Well, I guess he doesn't have... he does have NDD. So like Miraidon, Draco. Like if you invest... Oh, that'd be a lot, actually. But Miraidons are also dropping more special attack EVs. But point is, yeah, I think he... like Alejandro, I assume, was confident he would survive a Meteor Beam there to start that game. Wow. Well, that was sick, folks. Yeah, 116 attack is, I think, is a good guess. Like, this is kind of standard. Stalson, thank you for the donation. Koraidon 1, Fortaleza, and 13-0 Fashion. That's crazy. Isn't Heatwave just always getting the lock? You're playing accuracy, of course, but you're getting the KO on Ursh, Entity, and post-Trick Room. He wins with damage. That's also a good call-out. I think he went Eruption here because he, in his eyes, he wanted to maximize damage output into Lunala, and he's really hoping to get the knockout onto Lunala that turn. But you are right, Lep, by clicking Eruption and not getting this knockout, it essentially lost him the game immediately, whereas Heatwave would have allowed him to at least still have some damage. Even if you had Heatwave, though, like, how much of a difference does it make in the end? Because your Trick Room does get stalled out. And then this gets doubled up into Lunala comes out, beats Torkoal anyway. So I don't know if the Heatwave versus Eruption lock actually makes enough of a difference. The calc with high horsepower and Glacial doesn't matter what the HP range Lunala is at. It's not the exact same. No, that's not right. Look at this calc. We just did it. So if you look at Lunala, Meteor, like Water Terra, no Shadow Shield, and you are Water Terra'd, it's single target. Like, it's enough of a difference, right? Because both of these have ranges, and in the end, Lunala had about 5% of HP left. So obviously we don't know, you know, where in the damage range that it ultimately fell on. But as you can see here, high horsepower is slightly stronger, so the weakest Glacial Lance is weaker than the strongest high horsepower by 7.4%. Terrifier Eruption plus high horsepower never has a chance to KO. You don't know that, though, right? Because, like, you don't know exactly how much that Glacial is in this range. So because the weakest Glacial is 7.4% weaker than the highest high horsepower, then if it had been like if he had gotten a really low roll on Glacial and he had gotten a high roll on high horsepower, that's the difference between getting a knockout and not. So, like, this is something we could only 100% confirm if we knew the exact EV spread, but my point here is, like, likely if he had gone for high horsepower, it doesn't make the difference, right? But we don't know if he low rolled a Glacial Lance there or not. So, that's the main point I'm trying to make. Like, I personally think it actually does kind of come down to potentially damage rolls. We just don't know where Glacial kind of fell in that range, right? Like, let's say Glacial Yeah, my point is, it's like based on how much we had seen, like maybe it was a lower roll glacial, and we know that the strongest high horsepower is 7% stronger than the lowest glacial, right? Given that it was like 5% Lunala, I agree that I think it probably did make a difference there, but it's not something we can say for 100%. Maybe like a 2% increased chance of winning if you went for a high horsepower. Yeah, I don't know what the math would be immediately, but if we busted out a ruler, we could probably get pretty close to figuring the defense EVs on Lunala. Yeah, you could also, like, Lunala took a lot of other attacks. I just think it comes down, honestly, to if you personally knew the calc, maybe you played him in Source or had him beforehand. Like, I guess then my question to you would be, like, knows which calc specifically. Like, I think in that position, you go for Eruption plus an attack. Like, you lock into Eruption if you assume you're going to knock out Lunala. So my guess is he didn't know the calc, right? You're trying to understand my point with the damage calc, but Lunala was at 40%. Sorry, I was trying to show this to show the HP range. But if we want to actually look, like, Lunala has way less HP EVs here, right? I think it's only like 92 or something. So let's calc against like max HP. Let's see. When do we see his HP? But to your point, yes, if you think you're never going to get that knockout, then I think Heat Wave is correct. I agree. When do we see his EV? 227 HP, thank you. So that's what, like... So for example, to your point, Lunala's at around 40%, right? So this high horsepower, and it's probably not max attack. There might be more defense here as well. The question is if Urshifu takes the Eruption. Yeah, I think even if you don't... It's not the... Yeah. But yeah, that's why you go Glacial Eruption, because you cover for Urshifu as well. Like the Terrifier Erupt plus attack calc, I think based on just how that end game played where Torkoal just wins even post Trick Room. I don't know if Torkoal wins post Trick Room though, so let's rewatch it. I'm curious to see. Like, let's assume he locks Heat Wave here. Let's just play out the end game. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, let's assume it's Heat Wave here, right? Indeedee faints, Ice Rider gets low, Lunala gets low, doesn't KO. You get up expanding force. Ogre out now. Then here it could be Fire Terror Heat Wave plus Earth Power. Yeah, I think to your point, Heat Wave becomes so much stronger on the second to last turn of Trick Room. So I do think a Heat Wave lock actually may have won it, yeah. Because there's 2 turns of Trick Room this turn, right? If this was locked into Heat Wave, you could Spiky. And then it would maybe come down to a double protect then, because then with double protect you just cudgel surging. I think Heat Wave wins as long as you don't face a double protect from the opposing side. Because the way you would play it if he had locked into Heat Wave is you protect, you Spiky Ogre, you sack Lunala, you bring out Urshifu, detect Urshifu, hope for the double, and then Ivy Cudgel surging. Yeah. Does he have to double Hatterene? Does Ogre not KO Hat in Sun? Let's see. Ogre Pawn. Hatterene in Sun. We don't know how much attack investment he has. So this kind of ranges as well. But to the overall point, yes, I think like Heat Wave definitely makes sense here. But my guess is Alejandro just thinks he's going to knock out Lunala here, which is why he doesn't go for Heat Wave. He's like, I'm just going to go for the strongest attack. And once again, it's like hard to know these calcs off the top of your head. So yeah, it's like such a small nuanced decision, but I do agree with you. Like Heat Wave would have ended up working out better here because Lunala survives, right? My guess is Alejandro just really thought he would get the knockout there. Yeah, like I absolutely wouldn't blame him for thinking Lunala faints in that position. So it's a tough call at the end. But yeah, Heat Wave would have been way stronger because then you actually get to attack under Trick Room, and then it's like you have to hit your Heat Waves, obviously. That's also like sometimes I think the mental decision of like locking into a move that can miss versus a move that can't miss is really stressful, especially when that move you're locking into is Eruption. But it just happened to be the worst case scenario of Lunala surviving there. So I think you either go Eruption, high horsepower, go all in on trying to knock out the Lunala. But yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like I think he probably didn't know the calc exactly. But it's a good point that Heat Wave likely would have won him this game. And it's always interesting to evaluate, right? Like if Alejandro's rewatching this game, he's probably thinking, oh shoot, I should have actually maybe clicked Heat Wave. But I think locking into Heat Wave this early on also feels stressful because it's like 81% chance to hit both every turn. So my overall point here is I don't fault Alejandro for any of the moves he made in this one. I think this endgame in game one is complex because it's just a simple, like, do you think your opponent goes for the obvious double protect? And then like the two defining turns in this set, in my opinion, were the two defining turns were end of game one and then the turn that Lunala survives. But yeah, Lunala pulls it off. I really hope we get to see that team being posted. That would be so cool. But all right, folks, thanks for joining. Very fun to always co-stream these. Have you all here. Thank you for chatting. And I think since I turned on, it was all just 2-0s, which was pretty nuts as well. Yeah, double Trick Room in game one. I think, it would have been cool if like Alejandro tried it and Bazad called for it, or if it worked and Bazad like didn't go for it. But either way, it was a really, really fun finals. It's stressful with side spam and there only being 2 Trick Room turns left in the game to closer end game anyway. The risk of missing Heat Wave, I think, is something you always take, but I get it. Yeah, totally. Like, once again, at the end of the day, it's like, it's a lot harder when you're sitting there in the final seat and you only have 45 seconds to make the decision and you're also like trying to do the calcs internally. And I think, to me, this game wasn't like he made a clear error in going for Eruption or going for Heat Wave over Eruption. But yeah, I definitely see your point, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I agree with you. It's a good call out. But Pokemon is a game with like the smallest margins. A single different move can make all the difference. And especially when you're playing in the finals, like there's no more stressful set. And we have the luxury of being able to rewatch and do calcs and everything as well. But I totally get your point. Yeah. A lot of 2-0s this event. Yeah, totally. Anyway, I am going to have my first Road to Ranked in a long time posting tomorrow, so I hope you all can come out and watch that. And then hopefully I will be back on a more regular upload schedule. So thanks as always for tuning in. And have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time.